Got it. Wonderful. Well, thank you for everyone for joining us here today for this very timely story. As I hear payments, I'm not a parent, but I hear payments are already hitting bank accounts today, and people are getting their child tax credits to help support their families. My name is Katie Baker. I think a lot of you already know me, but I'm here today with the Child Tax Credit Alliance on specifically the Economic Security Project, and we are here to call on Congress to make sure that we are extending the child tax credit for our families beyond just 2021. So with no further ado, I am going to go ahead and introduce Delegate Dolores McQuinn, who is going to talk a little bit about what the child tax credit means to her family, and her district.
Good morning, and thank you, Katie, and good morning to each of you who are participating in this very extremely important issue. I am Dolores McQuinn, Delegate Dolores McQuinn, representing the 70th House District in the state of Virginia, which includes Charles City, the city of Richmond, Chesterfield, and Henrico County. I am an associate minister. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a wife, and I guess whatever else people desire to call me. But I am delighted to be here this morning. I'm here on behalf of my constituents and the community and asking the Virginia Congressional delegation to extend the child tax credit beyond 2021, so that our families and families and children can continue to use these resources and money to feed their families, pay for childcare, pay for educational expenses. And one other thing, to make sure that we help to build wealth, and especially in African-American families. 90% of families across Virginia, children under 18 qualify for this tax refund. So this will benefit a wide range of people of all income levels and family situation. These are particularly challenging times, as we have seen across our nation, how families are affected, how women are affected. And I think that being able to extend this, to expand this, would be just such a blessing to so many individuals. On a personal note, I'm honored also to have my daughter, Daytrielle, speaking at this event today. And she has an experience that I'm certain that as a mother and a new mother that she could share with us in terms of how these resources and how her family has been impacted by this time and this period, and how resources will enable her to continue to do some things as it relates to the family. I am a proud grandmother of 3 young ladies, young girls, one 3 months old, 3 years old, and then 7 years old. The 3-year-old had been given the opportunity to start pre-K and to get an early childhood education. And we all know how important early childhood education is for children's development. My daughter will tell you more, but these resources, this tax credit will help her and her husband to continue to help support the family, to support them in a way that, again, the educational needs as well as other needs will be met. We also know that these resources will help women who are able to stay in the workforce and that they are not forced out due to lack of affordable childcare. The issue of childcare is very, very expensive, but it's also necessary. And this child tax credit is expansive. So it doesn't only help those who may not necessarily be financial in a place to provide what they need for their families, but it helps middle-class families as well as families living in poverty. In fact, if this child tax credit became permanent, it could ensure that 96,000 Virginian children would no longer live in poverty. And I also want to take a minute to let people know that even if you are not required to file taxes, you can still get this tax credit by calling my office or trying to assess the ways that you could secure these funds to help your family. This tax credit is helping people just get through the day. again, by securing food, by helping with childcare, by extending education, and on the table, this could be a long-term investment that could help our communities in the future, again, to build wealth and the ability to build generational wealth. It is an investment in families, in Black communities, and in this country. And we hope that Congress does the right thing by extending it. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Delegate. Really appreciate your powerful words. Next, we will have Delegate Elizabeth Guzman.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's always nice to see each one of you. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you to all of the participants to let the voices being heard. So thank you. I am Delegate Elizabeth Guzman. I proudly represent the 31st District in the Virginia House of Delegates, which includes parts of Prince William and Fauquier counties. I'm a mother of 4 children, and I know how important it is to have the resources to care for your children. I came to this country with little money and a young daughter, and I worked my way through school while providing for her. So this tax credit provides needed relief to those in similar circumstances, caring for their children through this pandemic. We are working here in Virginia to ensure that we come out of this pandemic stronger than before. And this provides us a chance to lift tens of thousands of Virginia children out of poverty, like Delegate McQueen shared with us earlier. In fact, this not only helps families who are currently in poverty, but also middle-income families. More than 90% of children in America benefit from the expanded tax credit. This gives working families a chance to save for all kinds of expenses, from food on the table to childcare and college tuition. However, I also want to be sure that the resources we are providing are accessible to those who do not speak English as a primary language. We work hard during the COVID recovery here in Virginia to ensure that Spanish-speaking constituents were able to access state resources equitably. As a matter of fact, I spoke with a constituent this week who spoke Spanish and was having difficulty with the IRS website. And CNN reported today that this website was not available in Spanish. So we need to fix this concern immediately. The website getctc.org is accessible in Spanish. Thank you. And I encourage our Spanish-speaking constituents to check there. Let's remember that when people have access to spend more, they invest in their communities, helping small businesses and those who struggle with reduced revenue last year. Also encourage Congress to not let this tax credit expire, as it provides massive benefit to working families across the Commonwealth as they recover from this pandemic. Investing in children pays long-term rewards. So let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Next, we will have Delegate Kelly Converse Fowler.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate being here and being able to talk more about extending the tax credit. My name is Kelly Converse Fowler. I am the delegate in the 21st District. I have 3 daughters. One of them is a pandemic baby. She was born last year, March 19th, so right when the pandemic started. So this issue has hit really close to home with us. I have my other 2 daughters are school age, so we've been dealing with the childcare issue for the last year and a half. The childcare credit is helping not just me, but so many in my district and in districts across the Commonwealth. We cannot stop the funds at the end of 2021. We are still very much in the pandemic, not past it. If we want to lower barriers to getting folks back to work, this is a huge step and huge thing that's going to help with transportation, childcare bills that set us back throughout the lack of employment for the last 18 months and just trying to get back into things. This is an essential piece. Funds are not just for our most vulnerable, but also for the working families. Helping all families succeed, from families struggling to cover basic needs like food, rent, and other bills, to middle-class families that need help with childcare. And just on a personal note, being able to be and work and not have to do double duty right now, and to have childcare for my 18-month-old is essential. And I'm able to do my job, and I'm able to move the Commonwealth forward. So I thank Congress for what they've done with the child care credit, but we do need to extend it and help the Commonwealth get and working families get back on their feet. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Next, we will have Christina Hagan, who is representing the Virginia Campaign for a Family-Friendly Economy, and I'll let Christina tell you a little bit about her and her organization.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thank you, everybody. I'm so honored to be part of this conversation today. I think it's a really timely discussion for us to be having, especially with those third payments hitting bank accounts today. Let me just start off by saying that the Virginia Campaign for a Family-Friendly Economy, we're an advocacy organization that is focused on economic policies that lift up Virginia women and families. A big priority for us is ensuring that all Virginia families have access to paid family and medical leave to welcome a new child into the home or to handle a personal health crisis or the health crisis of a loved one. And we're also very engaged in advocacy around tackling Virginia's childcare crisis and Virginia's long-term care crisis. So we're just really pleased to be able to participate today and voice our support for extending the expanded federal child tax credit program. I really cannot overemphasize just how transformative this program is. It's already going a long way toward providing relief to Virginia families. I know we're gonna hear a recording from my colleagues over, Emily over at Voices for Virginia's Children in just a few moments, but according to some of the research that they've put together, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities estimates that 86% of children, that's 1.6 million children right here in Virginia, will benefit and are benefiting from the enhanced child tax credit program, and 249,000 kids are being lifted above or closer to the poverty line by this expansion. And that's data for right here in Virginia. On the national level, a recent study published by the Center on Poverty and Social Policy at Columbia University estimates that the American Rescue Plan could cut child poverty by more than half. And so this opportunity to slash child poverty in half is it's really going to set kids up for success in years to come. Already, we've been hearing from parents about what these payments have meant to them. For Tylisha, a single mom in Norfolk, the child tax credit program has afforded her the opportunity to engage her 5-year-old son in activities and programs that are helping his development, his character, and his social skills. The monthly child tax credit has been a deep breath in a moment, a deep breath, a deep relief in a moment of financial insecurity for Lauren and her family in Henrico. Lauren's husband lost his job at the start of the pandemic, and they've been really stressed about their family's expenses ever since. They have 2 children under 5, and so childcare is about 40% of their monthly household budget. And so these payments have just been really, really beneficial to them, and just making sure that they are able to keep affording that childcare, keep and keep Lauren in work, and keep her husband on the job hunt. Brandy is a home healthcare worker in Rocky Mount. She has 5 school-age kids, 2 of whom have already been sent home from school due to COVID exposure, and school hasn't even been back a month. She has very limited paid time off, and at this rate, she's already having to sacrifice her paycheck in order to stay home with her kids while they quarantine. And so the child tax credit is already helping her family through this period, making sure they don't fall behind on bills. These are just a handful of stories, but they really reflect, I think, the experiences that we're hearing about from across Virginia. I'd love to reiterate too some of the points that Delegate McQuinn made about the impact these child tax credits are having on working women in Virginia, and Delegate Guzman pointed out how this expansion really stimulates economic growth at the community level to the benefit of all of us. And Delegate Fowler talked about again how universal this benefit is. 90% of families are eligible and are actively benefiting from this program, and I just think it really, really highlights just the impact that this is already having on Virginia families. And so right now, the child tax credit is set to expire. The extended child tax credit is set to expire at the end of this year. And Congress is looking at options to extend it at least through 2025. And we're already seeing in the data that, this is going to be key to ensuring certainly that Black and Latinx children can benefit from the credit. And the bill also that's under consideration in Congress would undo a harmful restriction brought in by the 2017 2017 Trump tax law, which prevented nearly nearly a million children in immigrant families nationwide from receiving the child tax credit. So, all that to say, the benefits for Virginia families are tangible. And so we're just really pleased to be able to be here to join our colleagues and community leaders to call on Congress to extend the child tax credit program. Thanks so much.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Christina, for those remarks. Next, we will have Ashley Crocker, who is the Communications Director for Progress Virginia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Katie, for having me. My name is Ashley Crocker. I am the Communications Director at Progress Virginia, and I'm also a working mom. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a son who just turned 1 a few weeks ago. The child tax credit has helped our family immensely. Our kids have 2 parents who work full time, so they go to daycare 5 days a week. We were super lucky to find a great daycare where they're not only safe and well taken care of during the day, but they're also in an enriching environment where they're learning things I would never even think to teach them. But of course, a daycare like that isn't cheap. Every month, our daycare bill is more expensive than our mortgage. But thanks to the child tax credit, we're able to bring that cost down a little bit and add a little breathing room to our budget. At the beginning of the pandemic, we took our daughter out of daycare like many families did, but we still had to pay every single week to hold her spot for if and when we decided to send her back. And at the same time, we had to take care of her and do our jobs, or we had to take time off work. The child tax credit would have been a huge help then, and it's a huge help now. Because of it, we can spend a little extra on groceries or a meal out. We can visit a toy store, or we can take our kids out for ice cream without having to worry so much. The child tax credit is making being a working mom just a little more bearable in these unbearable times. And that's why I'm here, because both on behalf of my family and on behalf of Progress Virginia, to encourage our congressional delegation to extend this program beyond 2021, because our families still need childcare. We're still trying to get back to work, and we're still trying to get our kids safely back to school and daycare. If these refunds are cut off, it would definitely make it harder for my family and so many other families in our community. This is a refund of our money that we're putting back into our families, our communities, and our economy. This is money that is benefiting local businesses and definitely my daycare. Data from MasterCard shows that the first round of child tax credits in July helped lift retail sales growth nearly 4 times the usual monthly average. Parents are spending on everything from groceries and hardware to back to school supplies. And if they keep getting payments, they'll keep spending on daycare, clothes, grocery, holiday presents, and so much more. The mission of Progress Virginia is to help build a racially equitable and just Virginia where everyone is part of an empowered community with the resources and opportunities to thrive. The child tax credit payments help individual families, especially people of color and low-income folks, with day-to-day expenses. But they're also helping to build stronger communities where everyone, no matter who they are or where they're from, can really thrive and not just survive. And I think a lot of us, especially as parents, feel that we've spent the last 1.5 years simply surviving and not thriving. And the child tax credit is putting us back on the road to success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And now Mary Sella from my team is going to play a recorded message from Emily Griffey, who couldn't be here. I do want to name that I misspelled her name in the advisory, very unfortunately. It is Griffey, not Griffin. So it was my mistake. I usually don't mess up people's names, so I very deeply regret that. And with that, I will let Mary Sella go ahead and play a message from Emily. Okay, it looks like we're having an issue with the sound here. Could others hear Emily? No, okay. I apologize for that technical difficulty. Yeah, so if maybe we can return to that at the very end. And then I just, Edith, I just want to name, I do see Edith Losada from Telemundo here. So welcome to the group. Right now, I am going to go ahead and hand it off to Ashley Kenneth, who is the president and CEO of the Commonwealth Institute for Fiscal Analysis.
Great, thank you, Katie. Good morning. Again, my name is Ashley Kenneth, and I'm the president and CEO at the Commonwealth Institute for Fiscal Analysis. We're a nonprofit that advances racial and economic justice in Virginia by advocating for policies that are designed in partnership with people most impacted and shaped by credible, accessible fiscal and policy research. Virginia families need additional support to not only recover from the pandemic, but to thrive and gain economic security. As we've heard this morning, the American Rescue Plan Act made significant changes to the child tax credit that have already had a direct impact on the lives of families across the state. Under the temporarily improved credit, no family's income can be too low to qualify, ensuring that millions of families will benefit. In Virginia, over 1.5 million children received $377.5 million in support as part of July's payment, and nearly 1.6 million children received $388.1 million as part of August payment. Even more families can be reached if there is an increased focus on outreach and engagement at local, state, and federal levels. The credit is now also fully refundable, which means that families with low incomes are newly eligible for the full amount of the credit. Prior to its expansion, about 530,000 children in Virginia were either completely ineligible or only partially eligible for the credit because their families' incomes were too low. The expanded credit is working to help reduce poverty as well as bolster the economy. Evidence shows that families are using their CTC on things that they need the most. In Virginia, 45% of adults in households that received the CTC reported that they used part of their credit to pay for groceries. 27% used part of their credit to pay a utilities or telephone bill, and 21% used part of their credit to make a mortgage payment. It's making a difference in more ways than one. And now federal lawmakers have a unique opportunity to make an even bigger difference in the lives of families by making long-term changes to the child tax credit in the Build Back Better plan. Congress can and they should decide not only to extend the increase of the credit, but to make it permanently available to children and families with the lowest incomes by making it fully refundable. The expansion in the child tax credit would reduce the number of children with incomes below the poverty line by more than 40% and have a particularly large impact on Black and Latino children, as well as children in rural communities, helping to narrow racial disparities in child poverty rates. And so the Commonwealth Institute urges Congress to adopt a plan that sustains the expansion of the child tax credit, as well as several other important provisions, such as the expansion of the earned income tax credit, and to do so with a strong and robust revenue package that makes our tax code more equitable. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate you making this event. And then next, I am going to have a very special guest who is the granddaughter of Delegate McQuinn, Datrielle McQuinn Zassi of Richmond and Henrico is going to share her family story. Datrielle?
I got you now.
Okay.
I said, I'm sure my mom is going to get a kick out of you calling me her granddaughter. But my name is Datrielle McQuinn.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was thinking of your daughter. I apologize. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Datrielle McQuinn Zassi. I am a mother of 3 children, a working mother. I'm in banking and my children are 7, 3, and 3 months. My husband is a over-the-road truck driver. And a significant part of our village is my mom and my father, my mom and dad, who are both what I call working grandparents. And I call them out because many families are able to lean back on grandma or grandpa for childcare, but my parents work also. So I did want to point that out. Truth is that the expenses and necessities can be astronomical when we talk about childcare. You have housing, you have transportation, food, daycare, clothing, and that's just to name a few. And then you factor in the personal desires to enhance and advance their lives with experiences that will benefit them, such as trips providing exposure, sports, and activities for their development. And that could possibly give them a jump start on their future. But even with that, you have those unforeseen expenses that just pop out of nowhere. So for me, the advance meant help. It meant help that was provided right here and right now to provide relief and security for my family. This year alone, our 3-year-old went from an in-home sitter to a weekday school for preschool education that would provide her early childhood education. That was a big weekly increase. This year, our 7-year-old went to a full day program doing virtual learning because we all had to work. That was another major increase. Back in June, we had a baby girl, new baby girl born, third girl. And so in just a few months, I'll have to return back to work from maternity leave, which means that my youngest then would have to be in childcare, which is another expense. I say all of that because, as I said before, having the advanced child tax credit payment has significantly helped my family, giving us a sense of relief for childcare and everyday needs for our children. So on the behalf of mothers and families, I am asking Congress to consider families trying to make ends meet. Consider moms who have to quit their jobs to care for their children during the pandemic. Consider dads who are working overtime to provide for the entire family. And consider growing working families just like mine who just need help right now. At the end of the day, every situation is unique and different. But what remains to be true is the world needs children, and children are extremely expensive. The needs of children, the bills, the childcare, and so on will go far past 2021, past the pandemic, and past our lifetime. So Congress, when you make your decision, please consider extending this credit to families because we need help with our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daytrail, for sharing your family story there. Next, I believe we have resolved the technical issue with Emily's statement. Mary Sella, do you want to try sharing that again?
Yeah, sorry guys.
It's okay, totally okay.
Share screen.
Okay. Hi, I'm Emily Griffey, Chief Policy Officer at Voices for Virginia's Children. I'm pleased to be here today to talk more about outreach for the Child Tax Credit. When the expanded Child Tax Credit was announced as part of the American Rescue Plan, we at Voices were so pleasantly surprised to see a policy targeted to families that didn't require a family to jump through hoops and one that was flexible to meet their needs. We immediately went into action to get word out about the tax credit and the other significant supports included in the American Rescue Plan. You can find all of the social media materials on our website at vakids.org. What we found as we learned more about these benefits was 3 things. 1, so many policies were changing at the same time, it was hard for families to navigate what they might be newly eligible for and how to access it. 2, we continue to miss many families by not translating materials or making websites available in multiple languages. And 3, sadly, fear, hesitation, and distrust of government systems are still really strong. So I was thrilled to see this heat map and report to help get the word out to the Black, Brown, and immigrant families who have been left out of many policy solutions in the past. That's why, to make the child tax credit the most impactful and to reach these families, we'd love to see more public funding to raise awareness of how to take advantage of these resources, and especially how to navigate sometimes these complicated online systems. And we'd love more support for community organizations to partner and to help get the word out to the families that trust them, especially during tax preparation time in 2022. And of course, we need to make this benefit permanent. It's not often that a policy is designed with equity in mind from the beginning, or one that's designed to go beyond the day-to-day economic survival for families. The child tax credit helps families achieve economic stability and puts them on a path to economic mobility. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Maricela, for resolving that issue and being able to share Emily's message. And then since we have Telemundo here, I see Edith is here. Delegate Guzman, would you be willing to share some words about the child tax credit in Spanish for her viewers?
Sure, claro.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Ok. Bueno, buenos días. Soy la delegada Elizabeth Guzmán y represento el Distrito 31 de la Casa de Delegados, que incluye parte de Prince William y el condado de Fauquier. Soy una mamá de 4 hijos y entiendo personalmente qué importante es tener los recursos necesarios para el cuidado de tus niños. Yo vine a este país con poco dinero y con una hija pequeña y he trabajado duro para poder proveer para ella y poder ir a la escuela. Este crédito para los niños provee la ayuda necesaria para que familias en circunstancias similares puedan cuidar a sus hijos a través de esta pandemia. Estamos trabajando acá en Virginia para asegurarnos que todas las familias trabajadoras puedan recuperarse de esta pandemia mejor que antes. Así que este crédito ayuda a que a miles de personas en Virginia puedan salir de la pobreza. Es importante recalcar que este crédito está ayudando no solamente a familias en pobreza, sino también a familias de las clases medias, ya que más del 90% de niños en América se están beneficiando de este crédito para niños. Este crédito va a ayudar a que muchas familias puedan pagar por comida, por cuidado de niños o para su pensión de las escuelas. Sin embargo, nosotros tenemos que asegurarnos de que estamos proveyendo estos recursos necesarios para todos los ciudadanos en Virginia y en todo el país, incluyendo los que no hablan inglés. Hemos trabajado acá en Virginia para que podamos tener los recursos en español y asegurarnos de que esos recursos sean repartidos equitativamente. Pero sin embargo, he estado tocando puertas durante esta semana y hablé con una persona que vive en Woodbridge y que me dijo de que el acceso para calificar para este beneficio en la página web del IRS no tiene la traducción en español. Y es más, CNN ha reportado también que no está disponible. Así que me gustaría, por favor, hacer un llamado para que se haga una traducción inmediata y para las personas que están escuchando y que necesitan información, pueden accesar en español en la página web getctc.org, porque ahí van a poder encontrar la información en español para que ellos puedan accesar, para que puedan tener acceso a este beneficio. Y recordémonos que cuando la gente tiene más dinero, va a invertirlo en la comunidad, van a gastar más dinero y va a ayudar a muchos pequeños negocios que están en este momento recuperándose también de esta pandemia. Así que le pedimos al Congreso que expanda este crédito para niños antes que expire, porque va a ayudar a muchas familias, no solamente en Virginia, pero en todo el país, mientras que nos estamos preparando para recuperar de esta pandemia. Y tenemos que recordar que invertir en niños siempre va a pagar al final, así que por favor hagámoslo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Delegate Guzman. And I think that concludes our program. So thank you so much to our speakers. I just wanted to open up the floor to any questions from reporters.
Hi, this is Amy Knowles from the Dogwood. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, hi, Amy.
Hi, I was just curious if you guys had any, maybe any tips or tricks or advice for the everyday Virginian who would like to see this get passed in perpetuity. How can we contact our Congress members to let them know that this is something that we would enjoy?
Sure. Do any of the advocates want to speak to that? I'm happy to take it if not.
Katie, I think there are I guess a multiplicity of ways of trying to get everyday individuals involved. Besides certainly contacting the congressional representatives, but I think that social media is a big deal. How do you spread the word through social media, through Twitter account, through email, through Facebook? Name it, to get everyday individual talking about this particular issue and how important it is. One thing in the midst of this COVID that we have realized that a lot of individuals, and not just to say that, I guess the primary caretakers are women, but not just totally women. But however, we see realize how many have been pulled out of the workforce because of this particular issue as it relates to childcare and the lack of resources to be able to provide childcare. And then I've met folks all along the way who are now, because of the fear of COVID in classrooms, they're keeping their children at home. And so they've basically had to quit their jobs. So these resources are, again, childcare is very expensive. But the bottom line, it is a necessity. And so with these resources being able to help in any way as it relates to helping families, to empower families, I think every one of us could have a voice in that to say how imperative it is for us to get the message to Congress that this should be something that from now on will go forth in a way to empower and help families.
Very powerful. Delegate, did anybody want to add to that?
If I could just add just a really quick word. I'm intimidated following Delegate McQuinn on that, but one thing that we certainly have prioritized as an organization is lifting up the voices of everyday Virginians and the folks who really are feeling the impact of, again, a lot of our emphasis is on paid leave, but actually, and one thing that we've done this year is we've started a storybook project where every month we publish a storybook that features 20 Virginians and their experiences and the lack of access to some of these community supports. And in fact, our September storybook is going to look at the cross section between paid leave and childcare and frankly, the impact that these child tax credits are having on families. And so one of my calls to action for folks would be, frankly, to share your story. We really are hearing from folks all the time, but it really is by putting a face, I think, to the issues that really helps to paint the picture for our elected officials over just how important and how impactful these programs are. And so when it comes to continuing to lift up and make the case for extending and ideally making permanent these child tax credits, and then the expanded program, then certainly keep sharing your story. Call your representatives in Congress. We have some really great champions for families in our delegation, so we really are lucky to have some great voices representing us here in Virginia. But they still need to hear from us. They still need to hear our stories, and it helps them, quite frankly, make the case to their colleagues on why this program is so important, not just for Virginia families, but for families across the country as well. And so that's the only thing that I would add is just keep lifting your stories, keep sharing your stories, keep calling your representatives and communicating again what this child tax credit means to you and to your family.
Love that, Christina. Anybody else want to add to that? All right. Any other questions from reporters? Hi, Edith. I see you dropped something in the chat there. Sure. It looks like Edith was wondering, Delegate Guzman, if you could, in Spanish, repeat a little bit more about the child tax credit. Edith, you're welcome to unmute yourself and speak in Spanish to Delegate Guzman if that's easier. Oh, okay. So it looks like you don't have a mic. Sure. Was there anything specific you wanted her to just kind of reiterate? Okay, Delegate, if you just want to just talk a little bit more in Spanish, or just about how great the child tax credit is for this community and how they can go to getctc.org. And that website is more intuitive than the IRS website, particularly in Spanish. And so that we can get that. And if that if we still have a problem getting what you need, Edith, we can connect later offline and see if maybe we can connect you with Delegate Guzman if we need to. But Delegate, if you just want to maybe, oh, she's got some technical issues, it looks like. No worries. But yeah, Delegate, if you just want to talk a little bit more about what that means to your community and how they can access that.
Claro, lo que nosotros queremos recalcar el día de hoy es agarrar y pedirle al Congreso que extienda los créditos por niños. Hemos visto ya números que ha ayudado a muchas familias a responder a esta pandemia y usan esta pequeña cantidad de dinero para pagar por comida o para pagar por cuidado de niños o de repente para pagar también por sus estudios. Así que nos estamos reuniendo el día de hoy para poder expandir este crédito que está mejorando la vida de muchos niños acá en Virginia. Nosotros también queremos asegurarnos al mismo tiempo de que el IRS pueda hacer esta información accesible en español. Sabemos por un reporte del CNE que ahora no lo hace, pero sin embargo me gustaría invitar a la comunidad a que lo hagan visitando la página web getctc.org, getctc.org, donde sí pueden encontrar la información en español y para que usted, si no ha reclamado ese crédito para sus hijos, siempre y cuando sus hijos tengan un número de seguro social, puedan ser accesibles, y tenemos que hacer un llamado de atención para que estas páginas web y organizaciones gubernamentales también tengan que tener esta información en español. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. And I also, one of our advocates here shared with me that page in Spanish that the White House has about the child tax credit too. So I hope that's also helpful, Edith, and always happy to connect afterward offline if there's anything else we can get you. Anybody else have questions? All right. Well, we kept it under an hour. I am so grateful for everybody's time on this important issue, and especially to all our speakers, to our press for getting on. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm just very appreciative of your attention to this important issue. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.